What's up, everybody? It's been a minute. I am back. We are back. Al and Bill and Al. No matter how you want to slice it, we are
Back
here.
together again.
Yeah, exactly. This is Real Talk Chronicles. I'm your host, Bill Forster, with my co-host, Assemblyman Al Taylor. And this is Real Talk with Assemblyman Al Taylor. So this is a beautiful thing for me. It was a much needed break for all of us, trust me.
Yes.
We got to talk about Al, what he was doing. He was making a lot of moves and stuff. And we're going to get into that. We're going to talk a little migrants. We're just going to talk about what's happening in New York with old boy. We're just going to chop it up on what's happening all the way around and stuff like that. But without further ado, the sponsors. We got a busy month. October is here. The best month for me, TV wise. I get to watch my little scary movies, which y'all know. I'm a scary buff. I love somebody getting killed and thrown down some steps and chased and ripped apart. I don't know why. That's just who I am. It is what it is. And I remember The Exorcist. That was the first thing, because a lot of you have been watching, and you see I've been putting up a post in regards to what nostalgia stuff. And sometimes I do it now because it's about good memories, and that's a beautiful thing. We have those good memories, and it takes us back to a childhood and a place in our lives where there was no harm, no foul. And so everything was good, right? So without saying all of that, let me bring in my co-host, Mr. Al Taylor. What's up, Assemblyman Al Taylor?
Brother Bill, it's good to be here, man. Good evening to everyone on Chronicles Real Talk. Y'all know how we get down. There's no script. We're gonna take it right off the top. There are a lot of things that we're gonna touch on, but more importantly, we like to hear about you, what your summer was like, what are your fears, what are your concerns, and if you're not engaged, then probably go somewhere else. This is probably not the network.
Absolutely.
With all due respect. But if you want to get engaged and you are engaged and you got some ideas and opinions, we're here to hear those things. And I got a pretty decent skin. It's pretty decent. It's not as thick as I would like. So just pour it on. We'll get that together, right? Right. For sure. Welcome to Chronicles Real Talk. I am the co-host, Al Taylor, with my side man over here, kicking it, none other than Bill Foster. And we could not be anywhere doing anything halfway decent if it wasn't for the wonderful women in our lives. Malika,
absolutely. Praise the women. Exactly.
And my staff, we're just so happy to have people that help us do what we do. That makes it look so easy for us. But thank you. And thank you.
So Al, let me ask you a question. A lot of people should have known. If they didn't know, I don't know where they were. You ran for city council.
I ran for city council and I got shellacked, man. But we're
gonna get into that. But let's talk about. Hold on for a second. I want to talk about that. First, we're gonna talk about the shellacking, as you so eloquently put it. But let's talk about what it was like, the experience to run for another office. How stressful, how tiring, because you had missed some months with us because you were on that grind, and that was understandable from definitely from my standpoint.
It was crazy, Bill. I'm trying to, you gloss over the things that were easy, and I remember I had a lot of fun, if you can believe that. But there were times when you read something or you heard something that was put out there. That was opposite of what your character is, and it bothered me a little bit. Quite frequently it would bother me to those spaces, but I had to identify who I am, and whose I am. So it was a journey that you had to have the creator walk with you, so that in this space that we're talking to tonight, no one can come back and say, man, I saw Rev Al and he was ballistic, man. He went in on somebody. Because there are these moments that you just feel like you gotta unpack it and let them catch some of that. But when you think about it and say, okay, God, what is it that you would have me to do? And then kind of like swallow and push that to the side, because you know who you are, and there are supporters out there that know who you are. And some things sell news, and people like there were some things that were hurtful that got under the skin. And then, you sit there, you have some prayer time, talk to the wife, then talk to the team about how you're going to go forward. And then sometimes like, do you want to go forward? This sucks. Right. You're doing this work, but I'm not complaining. I'm just analyzing or reflecting on what I experienced. It was a great experience. Getting to know Yusef Salam was incredible. I think that's the greatest takeaway for me. And he may say that about me, but I certainly would say that about him. We spent a lot of time talking back and forth because we were talking before the race started. He expressed an interest, and I didn't get in the race just to flaunt. I got in the race because I thought that I was the better candidate and that I had the
Understood.
ability to win. And he and I talked, and when we sat out and we talked, and he said, okay, we're going to work this election. We're not going to become disagreeable. If there's something that we want to say to each other that's not really friendly, then we'll talk to each other directly as opposed to putting it out there. And we kind of had I had the same kind of conversation with Assembly Member Inez Dickens. I'm going to run. I just want to say right now, I want to thank all the supporters that were there, a lot of people. And although they may not have endorsed me publicly, they stayed out of the race, which was equally important. You know what I mean? When you're out there, and there are people that were on the other side supporting other people. But at the end of the day, as I said to so many folks, we have to represent a community. So whether I won or someone else won, at the end of the day, it's all about serving our constituents. And how do we do that in a way that fosters unity? No pun intended with the foster there, you know what I mean?
But you can foster you may not foster that, but you can foster the moment. What we're doing right now.
There you go. There you go. It was just great. It was great. People see you on the street and I say, hey, you're that guy yeah, that was me. I said the night that I lost, or the night Yusef won, I said Harlem could not have done better for itself in this space right here. I am proud to have been in this race. I am proud that he has won, and I look forward to working with this guy whenever and wherever. That doesn't mean we don't always agree on the flavor of the ice cream, but we're not going to become disagreeable. And what I know, I'm willing to share as much as he's willing to receive. And how can we get in it and mix it up and do the work that the people in Harlem deserve? So I feel good about that.
Well, you know what? I think that's a class act in your statement in what you just said. And like I said, I like the way you and Yusef worked each other, because I saw a lot of times y'all were talking about vote me number one, or vote him number two, or vote me number one, which I thought was good because it was competitive with love and respect.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what happened with the other individuals, but like I said, I mean, because
ranked choice voting, baby, is here.
Yeah. And before we go further, please just give people some insight on what that's about, because a lot of people still are kind of novice and naive to that.
So ranked choice voting is what the campaign finance board and we voted in Albany to bring to New York City, because there was a demand for it. And what it does is it allows you to rank the order in which you like to vote. So there were 3 of us in the race in this city council race. So there was a number 1, a number 2, a number 3. And this happened in the mayoral race as well. If you remember, some people got together and they tried to pull, the 2 of them would have enough. And that actually it propelled, I want to say Miss Garcia. It propelled.
It did. It catapulted up. Yeah, she was very close in this.
She was very close. Yeah. So what would happen is the person would go in and they'd check Al number 1, Yusef number 2, or Inez number 3, in whatever order you wanted to do that. And so when the count was over, if I had got knocked out, that's why we took a shellacking, because no one anticipated that he would get more than 50% of the vote in the first round. So it didn't matter if I and Inez had teamed up together. The numbers were so great that he won hands down first coming out of it. That's when I said it's shellacking. And the people of Harlem spoke to what they wanted. And you got to respect that.
Now, let me ask you a question, Al. Mm-hmm. With that being said, and like I said, this is what we do, it's real talk.
Yeah,
you think, not maybe barring you, and I'm saying barring you, but do you think the people, the community all over the world, not just, I'm talking about Democrats, Republicans, because a lot of times you hear people now talking about they just want to really clean the swamp of both political parties, even independent, conservative, whatever you want to call it. But it's just like right now, it's becoming an S show. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah, no question. Yeah. That was very kind.
Yeah. So what I think, do you think him coming out of, and we all know the history, of exonerated 5 in respect to that, and I still have law enforcement to this day. And for those that don't know, if you watch a Real Talk for the first time, I'm probably a law enforcement, but I'm
we
black.
Both are.
Exactly. Yes, you. But I always tell them, and I always tell other constituents and my coworkers, I was like, yo, listen, I'm a man of color first. I didn't stop being black when I went into the police department, and then I got my black card when I retired. No, that didn't happen. I'm 24 every day, all day, every day. So I say that to say, do you think that the community, and just you can just broaden it, that just people in general are looking just for new blood?
I think that there were a combination of those things. I mean, if we were making a grandma home stew, it had so many ingredients there. It was the injustice that he experienced, and this is a time to write that. And that, along with folks that were looking for something different from the current leadership or those in elected positions. So I think it was a combination of things that people expressed, even to the point where I think someone's like, "Hey, Al, you don't lose a job here tomorrow. So we may like you, but we want to give him a shot." And I'm all right with that. And that's why we did the 1 and 2. So I think the voters looked at it, and we have to look at who those voters were, where these numbers came from. And I think they wanted to right the wrong that happened to these individuals. And not to say that he doesn't have the merits and the capabilities to come in on his own, but I think there was a lot of that. And there was strong name recognition without question. And I don't want any of those things to take away from the fact that Harlem has a great representative coming in January. For whatever reasons, people voted for him. I can't say they got it wrong. I think they knocked it out of the park. And the message is, we want someone different. We want to see things different. And we love to see how he's going to work in this community, understanding firsthand the atrocities that have happened to men of color so often. And he was exonerated. So it's a win-win. If I said that before, I'll say it again.
No, I think it's good. I know you have a good relationship with him, so hopefully in the near future we can bring him on. And
definitely we'll coordinate that and see if I can get him for next month. And when I see his mother, she's like, "Okay, here's my other son. Come here," right?
Yeah, and that's a beautiful thing.
Right, and it didn't start out that way.
Yeah, man. Because the bottom line is, what we have to understand. A lot of people, no matter who wins, now we want to support the person that's there and give him 100%.
Bill, you could say that 3 times, because what people oftentimes do is, now he's elected. Now let's see what he's going to do. Collectively, we have to help him get the job done and not wait to watch and see if he falls or flounders or anything like that, but go hard. The same way we got him there, let's keep pushing for him and standing up and showing up. I think the masses will show up, and he's going to walk into city council with, he's got a real smooth swag. And it's so funny, Bill. Every time I turn around, he and my wife are bumping into him and his wife somewhere. It's crazy.
Right,
so
right.
Just we're at a place about a month ago, and we left that place at midnight. The wife and I are walking down 125th Street. We got our sweat gear on because you can't come flossing at that hour. And we were walking someone to their building, and while we were standing there waiting for that person to acknowledge that they were upstairs, he comes out of the building like, "I'm blocking the door." Like, this is like 12:30 at night. And we're like, oh, he was shifting. He was moving from one location to another. And it's like, "What are you doing?" I said, man, let me help you load that stuff. I'm just saying. And then what my wife and I said, "Okay, let's go get something to eat." So we go to Ponte Bistro,
Right, of course.
Not in to eat, and I have to talk to a lot of people if you just want to dine. And so we sitting all the way in the back chilling. And who walks in with his family? Him and his wife. And the guy is going to be a breath of fresh air. And voters are concerned on so many different levels. I think they're more astute than they were. I'm going to say a lot of us at where we're at in our age. When we were their age, a lot of people weren't engaged. They're very engaged. We have a new demographics of people living in Harlem, and I think they we definitely got to vote for him. It's just the right thing.
And that's what I was going to ask you about the demographics, because when you talk about Inez, all respect to her, she's like the old guard. No disrespect with the word.
Oh, no question.
Yeah, you're kind of in the middle. You're young, you're vibrant, but you've never been part of certain cliques. You've been Al. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, listen, it's wonderful. And big shout out to Keith Wright, former assembly member and the county leader, pulled together a conversation with all of us. So it was myself, Senator Robert Jackson, Senator Cordell Clear. It was Assembly Member Inez Dickens, and it was Yusef, elect City Council Member Yusef, and we had a conversation with business folks in Harlem, as well as other folks, clergy, a myriad of folks that were in there at that table.
It was an official round table. It was a real
no question. I mean, literally, you must have been looking at the camera, man, because it was that round table. Let's hear from you all. And how do we work together? Because this is going to make it or break it. One of the things that Cordell and I have often spoke about is we have to stop the bleeding. People are exiting Harlem because they can't afford to live here. And it's not just Harlem, but across the city. But the rest of the city is not as significant to me as this community which we grew up in.
Understood.
And it's like, how do we maintain what that looks like? And I remind folks, whether it's public housing or the rents going up, we have to look at it and be really pragmatic. When you think about the family growth, I come from a place where my grandmother had 11 kids, and she remarried after her husband died. And that person that she married had 12 kids, but they were up in age. So that's a huge family. And if you find anybody that's having 4 or more kids today, typically, and I could be wrong, I have no data anywhere, it's not necessarily a African-American family. No. It's going to be a migrant. So who takes those large rooms in public housing? Because they do it based on, right? So it's inevitable that the community will shift to some degree, but I think we should make sure that it's black and brown as much as we can and have the ability. So we're fighting to stave off increases on rent. We're fighting to make sure landlords not doing the okie doke on. When I say landlord, I'm talking about the big boys. I'm talking are sitting around with money, and what they call that? Disposable income. So Absolutely. I'll buy your building, and I know in 10 years it's going to pay off, and I'll just keep paying the taxes and writing off because I got that extra money. So there's some of those folks out there in their conglomerations, and they're just buying up wholesale. And we have to fight them off. We have to fight them to make sure that the HDFCs, I live in an HDFC, which is an affordable or subsidized co-op. That's all it is. And at the end of the day, these buildings kind of evolved after landlords walked away from them in the 70s, in the late 80s. They didn't want them.
Now, let me ask you a question. How do we do that? How do we fight that off? Because, my building is rent, it's going through that whole process. It's trying to go co-op, things of that magnitude. People move out because, like I said, once the prices go up, and it's almost like, because Harlem
it flips.
It's going to flip again. In the 80s and in the early 90s, late 80s and early 90s, the gentrification definitely, it's going to come back again. I project maybe and it's almost like they're pushing, they always said years ago, they're going to push everybody north or to the Bronx, so they want everybody to leave the city,
That's happening. You have a lot of folks from the Heights that's moved over to University Heights. They've pushed out because they can't afford to live here. And if we're talking and you're from the same neighborhood, when we look at the late 80s, early 90s, crack was an epidemic, and it was crazy. I don't even know if people that are old as we are or younger remember the riots that took place on Washington Heights. Like real car burnings, fights, helicopters, 24 hours a day. And then they birthed the 33rd precinct out of that, because you had the 34th that ran from 155th up to Marble Hill. So that brought that change in. But also it pushed a lot of people out in the interim, because if you were living in a crack building, that meant there was more crack being sold than people paying rent. And people were trying to get away from that. They were moving. And landlords, some of them, they were complicit in that in terms of some of the things that they did, coupled with some of the cops that were doing their own thing. So, I mean, it was either fight or flee. We were fortunate enough to stay. I live on St. Nick. We stood. I mean, I could open my window and damn near look into the cockpit of the helicopter, because they were client on a regular basis out here. So you have those stigmas those things that actually took place that tend to push people away. Now it's like, oh, I want to come back. And you look at the heroin that took place in Harlem, the same thing. We'll let that happen. Landlords will stop doing the work of the buildings and they'll go into whatever and people will run.
Yeah.
It's a long game. So
because we had a lot of I'm referencing Nino Brown, like he took over the car that beautiful building on 116th Street with fictionized. But the bottom line is a lot of times you had a lot of buildings that were kind of really monopolized by the street dudes. You know
exactly.
what I'm saying?
Yeah. And so when you look up in the Heights, it was so different. So if you look at let's go back to say 89, 88, 85. Crack showed up here first. It showed up in the Heights.
Yeah.
I remember Giuliani and D'Amato did a buy and bust. I'm like, any 2-year-old can show you where to buy crack in the hood. What are you doing? Yeah. You want to do something for me? Take them out. And so back then you start to realize, like, it was like a beehive. I'm selling drugs over here. I'm selling drugs over here. By the time you keep that door down, I'm 5 buildings away and we're already doing our own thing again. It was like rats. You could not stop the growth. Mm-hmm. But you had landlords. There's a building in the Heights. I know it. I just won't identify it.
Oh, understood.
They took the building from the landlord because repeatedly they felt that he wasn't doing enough to combat the drugs that were being sold out of there. So they had kind of like the RICO piece, but they were able to take that property from him. It's flourishing right now. It looks great. Mm-hmm. But it was done after a number of busts that were taking place in the building. So those type of things that you have to fight that. And I'm going to say something that will probably shock people, but there are some decent landlords here and there, decent ones. No more than I would not like to be accused of being a bad politician or they get everything wrong, or a bad Black person that does everything wrong. I think we have to be earnest and say, okay, who are those? Because you have bad actors across the field. And there's some small people that may own, when we talk about housing and some of the things that we do to fight for it in Harlem, it looks different in Queens and it looks different in Brooklyn because a homeowner, now my dad and I own this building. We don't, I'm making this up, people. We own this building and everybody's pretty much gone. So we rent the second floor and we rent the third floor. That makes us landlords in the property that we have. So we have to be careful how we treat them as well, because those are Black-owned, Caribbean-owned owners, and it is what it is. Or because we never materialized to the point where we could get 2 houses. I know personally of a father and a mother that has their brownstone, and across the street, the mother has her own brownstone in Brooklyn. But these are homeowners. And when we talk about landlords, we tend to see the big ones, and we have to be careful that we don't annihilate the little ones that are struggling to do well and get their people to pay as well. So it's a very delicate thing when we're making laws and pulling them out. Who are we trying to help, and what are they? What's the word I'm looking for? Unintended consequences that can happen in there. Sometimes it gets a little bit mushy here and there, but we have to figure out carve-outs for people like that. I just threw that as an example when I said that.
Absolutely. I mean, listen, everybody, that's Al Taylor. I'm Bill Foster. This is Real Talk Chronicles. We are back. October, we coming in kicking. You know what? We are ready to just run with this baby. Just give me the ball. Give us the ball, and we out. It's great. I love the way you're breaking it down and articulating it for the listeners and stuff like that.
Give me the ball.
Yeah, you got it. There you go, baby. That's it. Did you get that from your brother-in-law?
Oh yeah, autographed.
There you go. Exactly. One day you might have to just bring him on too. I ain't seen him since high school, brother.
You know what? We could definitely. That's when we have to go to the spouses and you have to keep running like, yo, we need to do.
Well, I'm gonna let you work that out because you know your dates. So
the
beautiful thing about what Al does and most of any of my other co-hosts, it's their dates. So they tell me who they bringing on, unless there's somebody else that we want to collaborate and bring on together. But the beautiful thing is, we at Real Talk Chronicles, we're trying to give you the realest information out there from the, excuse my referral like this, from the horse's mouth, from the individual's mouth. So that way, if you want to write in and ask them a question, because the bottom line is, I don't want to, like, we don't do the he say, she say. We don't, that's not what real talk is about. Real talk is about real talk. And if you got a question, then ask it. If you don't, then shut up. Don't hit me up tomorrow talking about, oh, you should have said, no, you should have wrote in. How about that? You know what I'm saying?
Got your grill. Yo,
exactly. Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna throw them, yo. And you know what's so funny? We're working on it. We're gonna get a line in so people can call in too. So that way you can just.
That would be excellent. That would be
excellent. I'm working on that now.
The minute you do that, let us know so that even though it may not be my night, let's get our constituents or the people that I serve to jump on.
Absolutely.
It will be fun. It will be fun.
So let me ask you a question, Al. What do you think about this migrant situation? Now, I'm not talking about New York City. I'm just talking about it's I guess a two-pronged question. You can talk about how you feel just in the totality about the migrants, and then you can talk about what's happening in New York.
Excuse me, I'm doing a little cold thing. That's why.
Listen, brother, it's back out there. We'll have the doctor on next week. We talk about COVID is back popping.
Oh, it's up, no doubt. And we're also doing. And we can have it before we get off. We're doing flu shot and the in addition to the flu shots, we have the updated shots for COVID.
Okay, definitely.
We'll give you that information before we get out.
5 minutes before we get out, I'll make sure you reiterate that information for everybody.
Okay, for sure. And also, people want to get their groove on, man. We got skate night.
Come
over to the Denny Farrell State Park, 145. You want to see a nerd and a herb get on some skates? Come see me. Right.
Listen, that's right across the street from me, man. But listen, I don't get on the skates. I got on the skates one time and did a figure 8 and I couldn't stop. And I fell. I took them skates and I threw them joints around and I just walked off. I never look back, baby.
Come on, man. I can't skate, folks. So 2 weeks ago, I can't remember, we did a skate night. But before the skate night, which was a Thursday, I went there that Wednesday night because they have regular skate night there. And Bill, I put on some skates, and they said, well, you look like you're going to fall a lot. So they gave me a helmet. I look like Rain Man on skates on a short. And after about 20 minutes or so, this guy rolls up on me. He was like, you knew, right? I said, what gave it away? I'm still in the same spot for the last, but I didn't fall. Bill, the guy was so gracious. I think his name was Eric. He showed me enough maneuvering things that I didn't fall. I fell twice, but one, I was just acting a clown. I should have fell. But other than that, man, you gotta come back. If you don't have knee issues, come on. Because in the next night, right? One of my coworkers, my staffers, he said, he was blowing it up. He was gassing it up. Like, oh, blah, blah, blah. You talking, get the skates. Let's go. Now, meanwhile, my feet were hurting because I had the wrong size skate from the night before. I said, you know what? Come on, let's go. Because you ain't going to talk that crap. So,
He started selling wolf tickets. Exactly. Right.
I said, put them on. So I put on mine. I looked for him, and he's down the other room. He didn't even put on the skates. And it took me the first night, Bill, about a good hour to go around the side of that rink. More than an hour. That night, I was able to get around that rink in about 20 minutes. There was some whole wall, then stepping, but I was able to do it without falling. I know how to stop. So I can't wait to get back on some skates and try it again. It's the best thing.
What night? What night is this?
It's going to be I think it's the 23rd. No. Excuse me. The 12th.
Okay. The 12th of October.
Well.
Okay. And then just since you're throwing out stuff, anybody that you want to come out, hang out, meet me, I do my brunch party the first and the third Saturday of the month. This is going to be the last Saturday that, we're kind of promoting the summer series. And when we say the summer series, we're talking about the streets being closed off because Harlem is a beautiful place with these streets closed off.
Yeah,
it's a lot of movement and grooving. So come on out, the brunch party at Row House on 115th and 8th Avenue. I'm a Harlem, so I'm gonna say 8th. For those that are not from Harlem, Frederick Douglass, and you can tell the difference of a person from Harlem or not, or a transplant. You say FDB and all kind of nonsense. We don't say no crap like that. When you Harlem, you say Harlem, baby. You say 8th, 7th, 5th, Lennox,
125.
Exactly. Yeah. We break that down for you.
125.
Exactly. So go. Let's get back to the question, brother.
Okay. So, I just want to clarify. We're having vaccine, but we won't. We're going to have the flu shot, but the vaccine won't be available on that date. I just wanted to back that up.
Okay, that's what's up.
There's another date for that.
And all you got to do is always just text me or hit me with the information.
Okay.
So whatever night I'm on, I can make sure I can mention that. You know Absolutely. What I'm saying? Because if you're not here or you want to just jump in for have a PSA and step back out, you're always welcome to do that. You know that. Yeah.
Super appreciate it. Mm-hmm. So on the migrant issue, I think we're all migrants.
Understood. Mm-hmm.
Except for the Native Americans that were here before us. But at the end of the day, and I reached out to somebody, I don't have an answer because the thing that I saw is their particular emphasis on Venezuela and other places getting a jump start on the ability to go to work. And the governor quoted something like 600 jobs, or no, 600 different people, I believe it is, that want to hire like 1,800 workers or something like that. I want to know what those jobs are. I'd like to know what they are, and are they available for other folks that are already here?
Right. I don't
mind helping. I just want to make sure we're getting our fair share. I think that the federal government has been slow to help New York. Mayor Eric Adams has been asking for it for a long time, from day one, that what he was doing was unsustainable. And while everybody applauded him for allowing this to be a safe city, you can't be a safe city without money. Money on the wood makes it all good. So finally, they brought in some dollars, and the governor has brought in some extra bodies to help. I think the federal government sent in some bodies, but it's unfortunate when you look at where some of these folks are coming from. It is what it is. We need to help, but I don't think that our help is at the risk of losing all that we have. So I think there has to be a balance. I support helping those that are here. We don't want to see them sitting in the streets. And the other part is their jobs that some, like right now, and I don't have the total answer data-wise. I believe a lot of this has to do with farming. So people that are farming need migrants to do the work that nobody else wants to do. And this is that season. I was in Long Island, and I was on an agricultural tour. And believe it or not, I mean, way out in Long Island, way out. Well, believe it or not, I didn't know. But the people there that are picking those fruits and working those facilities are people of color, primarily Hispanic. So they're doing work. There is work. I just want to make sure that we have equal access to the same thing that they're doing. If I've been homeless for 6 years and you've only been homeless for 30 days and you have a place, that's a problem.
Absolutely.
How do we balance that? So that's what I'm watching. And I know some of the things that came in, Bill, the expedite is beneficial to some people here that's in New York City already. So there's some pluses there, but I'm still fighting to make sure that we have a balance so that it's not all one way. And certainly not, y'all can't get nothing, get out of here. And I think on the national piece, I think there is a party that wants to see us be disgruntled. There's a party that wants to see us fighting with each other. Excuse me. And so you play it out the same way, they talked about bail reform. Oh, it's horrible, horrible. And then you had the police commissioner testify in New York, the former police commissioner, and he could not cite one instance where bail reform had increased crime at all. What we did had no impact on it at all. So he had to own that. But if you create the narrative,
hold on. Let me just push back for a second. And I'm pushing back just for a second since you mentioned that. Yeah. Situation: lady and a man got killed, 155th Street, and a dog. Right? 165th.
165th.
Yeah, right. The man that did the crime was arrested not too long ago for hitting somebody in the head with a hammer, and he was out. Right? That's a violent crime. So now Al is our boy, Alvin Bragg.
No, bring it, baby. Come on.
Yeah. So I say that to say, like, I don't know the stipulations of that. I just know the player and the crime. And when I say the player, I know the situation.
No, and that's good.
When we talk about bail reform, how is this individual? I don't even know if you can answer this. This is just I'm just throwing this out in the universe. How is this individual out for violently striking somebody in the head with a hammer, and then he's out, and then a month later he shoots and kills 2 people and a dog?
But again, that's the point that I want to make. That's not bail. That has nothing to do with bail reform. This individual committed a violent crime, and nothing that we said when it came to bail reform would have released anybody that has committed a violent crime. That's a felony.
Understood.
That's bail. Somebody was supposed to charge him with bail. The same thing that they did in the Bronx. So remember the young man that he picked up 2 bodies. He did one on 125th in a smoke shop,
and then 145th. Yep.
Exactly. That guy should. And previously he had an incident where he was shooting at cops. He should never have been released. But again, the point that I wanted to make, and man, you just made it so much easier for me. There are people that will allow this individual to get out. Like if you go back and look at the judge, why would you let this individual out?
Absolutely.
Right. And now I don't know if he paid bail or not, but he certainly did not qualify under the bail reform act that we put together. He would have had to pay bail. Now, if you pay your bail and you hit somebody in the head and you think that they should pay $1, that's ridiculous. You got to go look at that judge and say, what are you thinking about? Is he safe for society? No way at all. I didn't realize that they had caught the individual. I did a walk.
They haven't caught him. They haven't caught him yet.
Yeah, but they know who he is.
Yes.
Yeah. So I was in the park.
And I hope I didn't give too much of my intel out like that. But the bottom line is they know who this individual is.
Right. So I walked up there. I used to play in that park as a kid. So it's only a couple of blocks from my house. So I went by there Saturday, walked into it, and you could see where if you were there in the daytime, you could have got because the way the park is, it's kind of like in a valley, the area where you go to the basketball courts. And it's in the park, but it's not directly on the beaten path. You got to walk in a little bit and then go down. In the area where that took place, you would have been off the grid, if you would. You'd be in the park. But certainly the individual, that precinct is in my district as well. That's the 33rd precinct. So that person should not have been out on bail.
And you know what's so funny? We get it. People slip by the ranks. Slip by the cracks. But I don't know how this happens. You know what's so funny? And when another person will talk, if I talk to my former co-workers, that are definitely conservatives in their mindset, and don't get me wrong.
No.
I'm former law enforcement, but I was brought up with manners and I think anybody old school has a certain manners. Like Al, you and I, we may know killers in our past, but they still say yes, no, and thank you, and excuse me.
I'm sorry. They see your mother or my mother, they would move out of the way, open the door, carry the grocery. There's a certain level of respect for your elders.
And we can talk about mental illness, and we could talk about this new generation that has not been reprimanded. We could talk about what is it, capital punishment or corporal which one is it? Capital punishment, right? Where you can chastise your child and beat them and without getting.
Oh yeah, that's like
but I'm just saying, that's gone. Like you right now, people can't even reprimand their children without talking about BCW getting involved or ACS. So like and I always said this was like a systematic thing. I think they took it away from us, so they want our children to act wild and act out of character. Because when our children do it, we're still labeled menace to society. And this is
no question. When they do it, it's Johnny's exploring his environment.
Or he has mental issues. Oh, you knew it when he was 2, because Donnie was kicking a dog in the behind at 2 years old, like and then trying to throw him out the window. Oh, but Johnny still can get a gun to this day. You know what I'm trying to say?
No question.
So I say all that to say that there has to be a better way, and I don't know who needs to be there, because what's so funny, when the other party gets in the office, they're gonna hoot and holler talking about this. I mean, you got a former president of the United States talking about for looting, that if people were looting, police officers could shoot them.
It was property over persons.
You don't shoot property.
Shoot people over property. But so the point that you made, Bill, and it was very to my point.
Mhm.
The narrative looks like bail reform possibly could have allowed this individual to get out when nothing could be further from the truth. And but that could get pushed across so many platforms so quickly. And then when you look at it and you say, okay, which was the point I was making with the migrants. So you want them? We're gonna put them on a bus and send them straight from Texas straight to you all. So
Mhm.
government knows it's happening because that governor in Texas said we're gonna send them to New York, and New York's like, that's right, we can hold them down. But I guess 3,000 later, 300,000 later, we're like, we didn't know we was gonna get that much, and there's no help along the way. But then yet they'll say, see what they're doing in New York. You see this? And it's kind of like the self-fulfilling prophecy. If you believe it to be, and you carry yourself accordingly, so it becomes exactly what you said it was going to be, because all the things are lined up to do exactly what you wanted to do. They're terrible. They're bad on the borders. They're bad on crime, and blah blah blah. And if people don't break it down, the sound bite that shows up is good. Oh, they're gonna like,
Yeah.
and it shouldn't be that way. It's unfortunate. We have to dive deeper than the blurb on 1010. Give us 22 minutes and we'll give you the world. We got to go further than that. We got to read.
That's old school. That was that was his show. Exactly.
Yeah.
You'd be like, oh, you know what I'm saying?
What the Sims, the department store Sims was, an educated consumer is our best consumer.
And
right?
absolutely.
and if you're gonna get in this platform, even what I do, you have to get as much facts as you can, and sometimes you don't get it all. You try, but you don't get it all because there's so many moving pieces. There's so many moving pieces.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question. We got a new election coming up next year for the presidency. People are saying Biden is too old. Mm-hmm. People say they're looking for a new tandem to run. It seems like no matter what Mr. Man does, people still want him. First and foremost, the first question I'm asking you, do you think President Biden is too old? Let's stay with that first. Give me your thoughts on that.
No. Mm-hmm. I don't think he's too old.
Mm-hmm.
Not at all. How old is he? 84, 83?
Yeah.
Shoot. Man.
I mean, if his mind is right, then he should be able to rock out.
Right. I'm not gonna say he's too old. My father-in-law, 86, 87, will pull out his Apple laptop, book a flight, call an Uber, fly from Cali to New York, and take an Uber and come to my place, and not even tell me he's coming. So I don't know. I mean, my Uncle Willie is. So I think we have to be careful who's saying they're too old, and then once you say it, then people start to roll with it. I think we have to look at it and say, what are your capabilities? Where are you at mentally and physically to do your job? So we look at Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan developed Alzheimer while he was still in, I believe.
Yeah. A lot of people don't mention that. They don't mention that. Exactly.
They don't talk about that. And, they smothered him to do, and he could do the wave and shake and all of that stuff. We are wiser and older, and it worked. So I would be careful that when we start, well, he's too old. Who's saying he's too old? Right? Because that culture group is going to get old them damn selves, and then what they're going to do. But they haven't said Bernie is too old. You're
right about that. They've never said Bernie is too old.
Bernie is a god, man. Yeah. He's a socialist god. He's rich, he's old, and he's white, but nobody else rich and old can participate in anything but Bernie. And he's got a whole cadre of young people following him. I'm like, come on. It's either this or is that. So I would just like, you know what? Unless you have a viable option, let's keep working what we have. Here's the plan. I got to work it. It's Biden. So let's go. And what happens is, I think the people that, I think what they're looking at now is that uncertain vote. They need the people that are undecided vote. Do you think he's too old? And then that person will probably say yes or no. But if that undecided vote is at least 45 or older, they're going to rock with him. because they see the long game. That's me. I don't have anything to base it on other than life experience of living. So if you're 45 and you're up and you're in there, oh, let's do one better than that. If you are a prime voter, which means you vote in all the general elections, then you're pretty much informed. And I would say that people group is going to be more older than not. So they're going to be 45 and older. They're going to go with him. And that's the only thing that's going to be. But there's so much crime, and the Democrats didn't deliver for you. You know what? Is there so much crime? Is it bail reform? Is it the migrant issue? How is it connected? Because they got one thing they do well. They control that media platform, and they run crazy with it, and we're terrible with it across the board.
And one thing, let's put out there and keep it a buck. Crime is happening in all the states. It's not just Democratic states.
Real talk. There you go. Right now, folks. Put that down.
Yeah,
that's
it's
it.
happening in all states. Now, let me tell you something, because all states got inner city, and you know, and all states have poverty. So let's not get it twisted. Yep. You know, it's a lot of those suburban places are talking, wolfing it up. I mean, but the bottom line is people are running because the bottom line is people feel like they can't take the law in their own hands, and nor do they want to, or they should. And you know, when we talk about law enforcement, you know, and shout out, that's why we haven't been here. Shout out to my man Eddie Caban. You know, the PC, because like I said, we haven't been here for a while. Eddie Caban and I were cops. I used to drive him when he was a sergeant. Yeah, that's my man. 2-8 strong, baby. So shout out to him. I wish him all the best, all the best. And you know, he is a cops. He's a community person. Let me tell you something. I'm giving him his props right now because Eddie kept it 100. Yeah. From the day I met him, it wasn't like he's probably one of a few, and I'll say what I say because I don't care. If you ain't kicking my behind, ain't too much you gonna say to me. He's one of a few Latin brothers that I seen that got on his job, that was on his job, that kept it color. Yeah. You understand what I'm trying to say? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like he kept it 100. He understood that our color sometimes could be a hindrance to us. Yes. And he didn't. If you fell in his eyes, it's because you were just a poor worker. It was not because color held you back. You understand what I'm trying to say? Oh man, he's a real dude. I rock with him. I rock with him hard body. You know,
I don't know him as long as you have, but in the years that I've seen him, he's always been a stand-up person. Like he'll walk across the room just to shake your hand.
Yes, yes.
Like, well, who was that? Now you know who he is, but I'm saying I've seen him in places, and he's always been cordial. Like I've approached him. I was like, hey, you know that officer over there? Like, I don't want them to leave, man. Why y'all taking them? You know, but it's part of their.
Well, that's just the way the job is made up. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You get a promotion or somebody try to move on, and let me just get back to what people were saying. A lot of times people always say, what happens to the beat officer or the person officer? Everybody wants advancement. Nobody wants to just stay there unless they're just so comfortable with their days off or their scheduling. Yeah. And if they do that, it's either one or two reasons. It works for their family, it works for what they want to do or don't want to do. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes people don't want to go up the ladder. I get it. You go up the ladder, you're dealing with a lot of bureaucracy and red tape.
And they have me doing what they do. I would say this, since you mentioned that before we get off. We got about 20 minutes. Oh, we got 10.
We got about 10 minutes. We got 10 minutes.
So it's important that wherever you're at, that you are part of your precinct council. Go into the precinct meetings. They happen once a month. Wednesday, Thursday, Tuesday. I don't know. Wherever you're living, find out when the precinct council meetings are. They're for the public. They're for the community. You will hear what they're doing. You will meet the officers that are on patrol in your region because they have these sector officers that kind of like B cops. They just have a different name, but they're constantly there. They'll give you their cell phone numbers. They'll let you know what they do. And if they're not around, they'll tell you who you should talk to. But it's designed for them to engage our community, get to know them, get to hold them accountable. While you want to know what's happening in your neighborhood, go there. You see these abandoned cars, or you see somebody's car is broken into. Develop a relationship with them. That's what they're trying to do. know as much as they can. So I just want to put that out there to everybody. There's so much stuff that we didn't talk about tonight.
Oh no, but and that's why it's always good a month to write down notes and take it back. And this is the first day we're back. It's this October, yo. So you'll give us a minute. But let me tell you something. The next time we come back, we're gonna heat it up for you.
There you go. Anybody out there? Any questions before we drop out?
No, you know what's so funny? Everybody, I guess the weather, they got everybody consumed because we just had that rainstorm that was like, yo.
It's like, it's nice outside. It's nice outside.
But the beautiful thing, this is on YouTube for those
you can catch it later,
and it's on Facebook. So you got dual status, so you can always go back to see it. But let me ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
You know, what's up with our city, bro? I mean, the bottom line is, a city so big, so powerful. Why are we getting flooded in?
Oh, come on. Man, that's an alley-oop. You just want me to stuff that. You already know.
I'm throwing it up, baby. That's what I was doing. I was assessment, baby. I'm gonna throw it up to you.
Excuse me. What people are unfamiliar with is we see things like this happening in Bahamas, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic,
right.
And they say, "Well, that can't happen to us." I don't care how tall the building is, we are still sitting on an island. There is an island. We not only are we sitting, not only is this an island, but they built communities on swampland.
Yeah.
They built communities on swamplands. And it's so funny that you asked this question because there was a guy, what's it, ophthalmologist? I can't remember.
Okay.
He pulled up some information and he did a grid, like the way he identified, let's say, Lower Manhattan. He showed what it looked like, excuse me, before they started building.
Right.
It looked like swamp. And then they just put buildings on top of it. They shored it up so they can put buildings there. But everything that we have, if we were in DR and a hurricane hit, we had to stop a whole lot of stuff because they weren't sure how it was going to hit the island. It didn't hit nearly as bad as they thought. But so Manhattan is an island. It is an island, and we're off the Atlantic, right?
Yeah.
That water can rush in. So if you look at the polar grounds and the Rucker area, that's part of, they built this up. If you're looking down past
Horn River Drive,
exactly. So when the water started to rush, right, and when it started to shift, because we built on water, and when you look at the subways, that water comes in and drowns out your electricity. We built it with the idea that we wouldn't have storms, but that's the real deal. No matter what they really want to do is talk more about evacuation plans, because at some point you got to get out of here. You're gonna have to get out.
Yo, you know what's so funny? What was that storm that we had? I think the last time we had a bad flood, like it was coming all up into the river.
Was it Sandy?
Yeah. Was it Sandy? I forgot what it was, but that did damage to us too.
Yeah. So you know where Esplanade Gardens is, right?
That's what exactly. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
So cars were floating in the parking lot, like literally in their parking area. The cars were floating through. Like you parked it here, you find it at the other end of the building. That's how much water came in.
Yeah.
So we have, depending on whose report you want to follow, climate change has caused a lot of more shifting in the weather, but we're on an island. And right now, people say, oh, that doesn't happen, but every 100 years. Now it's like every other year, we're getting something major and it's pushing at us.
Yeah.
And so people, hey, this is not the place to be.
You know, it's so funny. We can only try what we can do. I mean, the city is built. It's old. It's still beautiful. You know, a lot of times the sewer systems have not been upgraded and things like that because it's like putting a Band-Aid on an open scar. You know what I'm saying?
No question. And I mean, you build property on a cesspool, it's gonna stink after a while.
Absolutely.
You know, it's unfortunate. I'm not trying to diminish my love and respect for this city.
Oh no, because we New York all day, baby. Let me tell you, I throw it up. I'm the 212. You know what I'm saying?
212. So we were built. This city was built on swampland, and that's the gospel, and that's why we're having so many problems that you have.
Yeah. Yeah.
No less, no more.
Everybody, this is Real Talk Chronicles. That's Assemblyman Al Taylor. I am Bill Forster. We are back. Thank you for chiming in those. Pass it along, share it. Next month, we will be back again in November with bigger and better. We'll be right informed. Hopefully, Al will feel a little better. I'm not going to hold it longer, because, first and foremost, everybody still be careful out there. Just because COVID ain't talked about don't mean it ain't there. The boogeyman is there too, but people don't mention his ass. You know what I'm saying? but you know what I'm saying? It's good and there's evil and everything. Al, I like the cut. I like the goatee, brother. I like the cut.
I want to thank my wife. She was like, "You gotta do something."
Tell my sister I said hello too, please.
She's like, "You gotta do something with that." And we were out at Kenny's place, for his father's 87th birthday.
Oh, right.
And Barbara had came out to the house to do his hair. So I did one of them in the park kind of thing. I got my lady. I sat on the bench by the pool, and I got an Afro pick. I'm ready to get some corn braids. And Kenny was like, "What you doing, man? I'm about to get twisted here." He's like, "Yeah." All over this. And so Gwen was like, "Yeah, go over. And so I went in.
Go, bring it down.
Yeah, bring it down, man. I lost 50 pounds of hair in that place.
Yeah, you did, brother. But it looks good, man. You look real
different.
Like fly, man. You know what I'm saying? Don't take my name. I'm the fly guy, but you holding it down.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Let me ask you a question before we go. Give out that information that you want people to know about COVID or flu shots. Everybody out there, my public service.
Okay.
Go ahead, please.
No, go ahead. Continue.
No, well, as you get that information together, I just want to say, please be careful. The world is still the world. When we talk about the politics, because this is a political show, and unless we talk about anything else, because the one thing about Real Talk Chronicles, we can talk about anything on any night. Please just do your homework. That's all I ask you. Do your homework like you want to, just like you do your homework on Ratchet TV or gossip. Do your homework on the politicians and politics and law. I'm sure this year coming up and next year we're going to have. I'm putting that in Al's lap. That's what his forte. We're going to have politicians. We're going to have a bunch of people come in and chop it up with you. That way you can ask them the questions that you want to ask. Listen, this is Real Talk Chronicles, and like I said, we're back. Guess who's back, baby? Go ahead, Al. Take over from there, brother.
Thank you so much. Thank you for my brother right here tonight. Brother Bill Foster Chronicles, Real Talk, y'all. Yeah. If you don't know, now you know, baby. Yeah, it's not original.
That's it.
I never said I was. But listen, on August, how about October 12th, the Denny Farrell State Park on 145th Street in Riverside, skate night is free. There's no admission. And there's no cost for the rental of the skates. They're all free.
So let's blow that up for to Denny Farrell. Let's blow that up for him. You know what I mean?
And on October 10th, Hebrew Tabernacles, which is on Fort Washington on 183rd Street, we have flu shots for people that want the flu shots. It's free. Okay. Bam. And then on the 21st of October, we're going to have a shredding machine outside, a shredding truck, I believe it's 2 trucks right outside of Esplanade Gardens, 148th and 7th Avenue, Adam Clayton Powell for the people that are new to the hood. But 148 right there. Bring all your stuff that you want to shred. Bring it. Come early, create the line. Because if it's only 1 truck, once that shredder is full, that's it. And that's in conjunction with AARP. So again, on the 10th is going to be the flu shot, Hebrew Tabernacles, 183rd. The 12th is going to be skate night at the Denny Farrell State Park, 145 in Riverside. Skates are free. The admission is free. And then on the 21st, we're going to have shredding, which is also free. Feel free to contact my office at 212-234-1430, or you can email me at Taylor A at nyassembly.gov. Taylor A at nyassembly.gov. Thank you all so much for joining us. This is one of a plenty to be coming. So thank you. Hope you had a great summer, and we're here in the fall. Come back and holler at us, y'all.
Everybody, that's Al Taylor. I'm Bill Forster. We out of here. Listen, go Giants. Hopefully they do something tonight. Knicks, Mets, Yankees, bad season, Mets. Listen, it is what it is. Just, everybody Stay safe. Do what you got to do. If you can't do anything, just have real talk. And if anything, foster the moment with positive vibes only.
Ooh.
That's what we do. All right.
Foster.
All right, everybody. Good night. We'll see you Wednesday.
My God.
My God. As always.